Hello, Morongo Basin, and listeners around the world online at Z107.7 FM.com. Here is the Z107.7 Local News for Wednesday, March 25th, 2026. After a collision in 29 Palms left one person injured, a man was arrested on suspicion of DUI. On Saturday at around 8:25 p.m., San Bernardino County Sheriff's deputies responded to a report of a collision near the intersection of 29 Palms Highway and Mesquite Springs Road in 29 Palms. Deputies say that a vehicle driven by Vincent Paplia, 32, rear-ended a second vehicle on the highway. Deputies say they were notified of the collision by a person in the second car and that occupants in that second car reported injuries. The Sheriff's Department did not provide information about the nature or severity of the injuries. Deputies arrived and contacted Paplia. They determined that he may have been under the influence while driving and took him into custody at around 10:15 p.m. Vincent Paplia was arrested on suspicion of DUI causing bodily injury. He was booked into the Morongo Basin Jail and has since been released. The hit-and-run trial of Troy Reynolds returned to court yesterday morning with the defendant taking the stand. Here is reporter Adeline J. Wells with an update from the trial.
Troy Reynolds returned to court yesterday morning for a jury trial. Reynolds is the suspect in a fatal hit-and-run collision from January 26, 2024 that killed Joshua Barreras, a Yucca Valley teenager. The trial continued with the prosecution's questioning of Detective Shane Crowell, who worked as the lead investigator on the case. Crowell recapped testimony from Thursday that a review of body cam footage from January 26th led to the identification of Reynolds as having been on site of the collision, and vehicle parts collected from the scene matched one of the Hills towing trucks on a roster from a rotation contract with the Sheriff's Department. The court then watched roughly 37 minutes of body cam footage taken by Crowell during the execution of a search warrant at Hills Towing from February 8th, 2024. While Reynolds initially denied any knowledge of the reason for the search, he then began to admit more, saying, quote, "I just got scared. I saw a flash, something stepped right out in front of me," end quote. Reynolds explained that after feeling the impact of the collision, he pulled over to the right-hand shoulder to survey damage to the vehicle. Upon seeing the sheriff's deputy's lights in his rearview mirror, he backed up and saw Barreras lying on the center median and said he assumed the teenager was injured. Reynolds said that when a sheriff's deputy, whom he thought was an EMT, asked if he'd seen anything, he said no. Reynolds then described driving to his office on Yucca Trail, after which he received a tow request to a Honda dealership in Riverside County around 9:30 p.m. He said he pulled broken pieces of the headlight from the vehicle. After dropping off the order, Reynolds said he had his employee, James Phipps, pick him up, and the two returned to Yucca Valley between 3 and 4 a.m. Crowell asked if Reynolds had told anyone about what happened, to which he said no, just that he had said he was in a collision. With roughly a half hour left on the court's calendar for the day, Troy Reynolds took the witness stand. The defense's questioning began with recapping much of the narrative that Reynolds had told Crowell. When inquired about his thought process, Reynolds said he had tunnel vision, saying, quote, "I wasn't thinking correctly. I wish I was, but I wasn't," end quote. Reynolds became emotional when talking about seeing Barreras lying on the center median, saying, quote, "I didn't know it was a kid," end quote. Reynolds continued by narrating that he had Phipps pick him up, stating he couldn't focus enough to drive and felt he was having a heart attack. Reynolds said, quote, "It's something I live with every day. It's something that I'll live with for the rest of my life," end quote. Judge Oliver ordered the jury trial to continue, with Reynolds resuming his place at the witness stand. Troy Reynolds is charged with felony hit and run resulting in permanent injury or death. He is currently out on $500,000 bail. Reporting for Z107.7 News, this is Adeline J. Wells.
Thank you, Adeline. She will be continuing her coverage of this trial throughout the week. You can see a longer version of her story at our website, Z107.7 FM.com. The San Bernardino County Board of Supervisors is advancing a proposal that would raise road maintenance fees in several Morongo Basin communities. The portion affecting landers has been delayed. Reporter Hillary Sloan was at the San Bernardino County Board of Supervisors meeting yesterday and joins us with this report.
The SBC board voted Tuesday, March 24th, to move forward with proposed increases for several county service area 70 road zones, including Yucca Mesa, Flamingo Heights, Copper Mountain, and parts of the greater Joshua Tree area. County officials say current annual fees ranging from about $15 to $35 have not changed in decades and no longer cover maintenance costs. As a result, some routine grading has already been suspended. The proposed increase would fund only ongoing road work. It does not include new construction and would include annual adjustments of up to 3%. If there is no majority protest, the proposal will move to a mail-in ballot, with the earliest possible vote expected in May 2026. During the public hearing, resident Marvin Ellis raised concerns about lack of notice and automatic increases.
I am opposed to this because this is the first notification I've received on this project was the letter to come to this meeting. I would not be opposed to an increase because I know costs have risen. What I would be opposed to is an automatic increase annually.
The Landers portion of the proposal, known as Zone R15, did not proceed after Supervisor Jesse Armendariz abstained due to property ownership. Supervisor Don Rowe was absent, and Supervisor Paul Cook voted no when the item was considered. Cook later abstained during a subsequent vote after the Landers item had already failed. The change will allow the proposal to be revisited at a future meeting. If ultimately rejected, officials say the road districts could be dissolved, leaving property owners responsible for maintaining their own roads. For Z107.7 News, this is reporter Hillary Sloan.
Thank you, Hillary. Also at yesterday's Board of Supervisors meeting, the board approved a commercial rezoning in downtown Joshua Tree. We'll have that story for you tomorrow. If you are building any structure within the town of Yucca Valley, the Planning Commission says it pays to check your permits before breaking ground. Here with a recap from last night's Planning Commission meeting is online news editor Robert Hayden.
The Yucca Valley Planning Commission selected new leadership at last night's meeting with a casual reassignment between commissioners. Vice Chair Matthew Thomas was nominated as chairperson and Commissioner James Henderson was nominated as vice chair. Both passed unanimously, and they'll both serve in the roles for a year. The newly arranged commission then reviewed a variance request for a property located at 8140 La Contenta Road. An existing unpermitted accessory structure was identified as being built around 2016 and has in the past been used for unpermitted short-term rental activity. Town code requires accessory buildings on rural living zoned lots to be set back 15 feet from the property line, and the accessory building in question missed that mark by about 10 feet. The owner, Lori Portillo, spoke to the commission after town staff presented the report on the property. She says that she's lived in the Morongo Basin for 45 years and has rolled with the town's changes regarding long and short-term rentals, and she has the receipts for the fines to prove it. The Planning Commission expressed sympathy with the property owner, but ultimately denied the variance request, citing the lack of extraordinary circumstances that would necessitate granting the variance and the precedent the variance would set for all other properties with similar circumstances. The property owner now has to either apply for the proper permits and move the building within the proper setback, demolish the building, or seek a lot line variance as suggested by Commissioner Clint Stoker.
If it's important to you to keep it and it's something you love, then the path forward that's legal would be to work towards a lot line adjustment, to buy a chunk of dirt from your neighbor to adjust that line. And that's a process that you can work through with the town to get accomplished.
You can find a longer version of this recap on our website where they discuss Sun Mesa mini storage along with a public comment from a neighbor, architectural treatments for shipping containers on lots that are less than 2.5 acres, and the minimum size for a home in Yucca Valley. That's all at Z107.7fm.com. Reporting for Z107.7 News, I'm Robert Hayden.
The Morongo Valley Community Services District Board of Directors will hold a special meeting tonight. Reporter Gabriel Hart has a look at their agenda.
For the meeting's agenda, the Board of Directors will review a new fire captain paramedic job description. This position establishes a supervisory role responsible for shift operations, emergency response command, and oversight of advanced life support services, including clinical performance and EMS compliance. It is recommended that the board review, discuss, and approve the job description as presented. As a separate item, the Board of Directors will consider approving the addition of a fire captain paramedic position as a new line item within the district budget and establishing a corresponding salary range. Reporting for Z107.7 News, I'm Gabriel Hart.
Thanks, Gabe. Tonight's special meeting is happening at 6 p.m. at the Covington Park Community Center. The Basin Transit Board of Directors meets in regular session tomorrow. On their agenda is the consideration of operating and capital budgets alongside an update to their paratransit plan. They will discuss revisions to their employee handbook along with their transit ambassador program. The Basin Transit Board of Directors meets in public session tomorrow at 5 p.m. at their office at 62405 Verbena Road in Joshua Tree. That's our local news. Hear local news 7 times a day, 7 days a week at 7, 8, 9, noon, 4, 5, and 6. Reporting for the Morongo Basin News Leader, the award-winning Z107.7 Local News, I'm News Director Jeff Harmatz.